conspiracy theory or conspiracy idea. Do you think the Mexican national team has told Jimmy Lozano not to pick up a club team right now, just in case they need to call him in?
I could see that. Yes, right? I could see that. They probably told him, "Look,
because he knows
it's not crazy. So conspiracies are sometimes cool because they have like truth behind it. There's two things you just said. One, don't sign with the team right now. First of all, it's mid-season, so who are you going to sign with, Jimmy? That's going to be a good idea for you. Like Chivas is a good project for you, but not in mid-season, right? Or any team, but not mid-season. Okay, you're not like a bombero, like they say, right? You're not going to come and save the world. You need time. You need to work with the team. So he's not that kind of guy yet. He's too young to like take a team over like that halfway. And so they're probably telling him that. And number two, like, you say, like, they probably said, hey, man, like, we know Tata didn't win these finals, but we can't blame him for these finals. Like, we can't blame him for the first one. And the second one, like, he didn't have the full roster and the guys just didn't score goals. Like, you can't blame the coach still. Like, you really just can't. And so, like, I feel they probably did tell him, like, hey, bro, just wait, because we do need to find someone within the organization that kind of has an idea of what we want. That's a free agent, right? I mean, a free agent, right? Because when you bring someone to save you in,
players.
What was that?
And who knows the players?
Yeah, he knows the players. He can come in right away and just jump in, because you couldn't really grab any of these other guys like, Tuca or anyone else. You can't really do that because that's going to change everything, And I feel it's like, okay, at least he's already coached most of these guys. Let's just slide him in there, So that's kind of like what they did with Tena. Remember, like, Tena separated from Chepo, knowing that Chepo was already in trouble. And they sent Tena to the Olympics. And then when Chepo got let go, right, didn't Tena come for like 1 or 2 games, right? He came over, and then Zatich came over, and then everybody started coming in. So, yeah. Hey, that's a good theory, man. I like it.
I just thought about it.
I don't want it to happen. I want Tata to finish this process, but I do think that is not a bad option for Jimmy Lozano to come in and kind of like keep things going in the same direction, but at least with a different idea.
Because we've seen Mexico struggle in World Cup qualifying enough, and we've seen them make changes during qualifying more than just 2014 time. They did it in 2010. They did it in 2002 as well. They did it in 2014 where they make these changes. There's 2006 they went all the way through with like Golpe, no problem, and then Osorio came in, no problem. But besides that, they've always made changes. So now because I'm used to them struggling a little bit in qualifying, I'm like, well, if they get off to a bad start, and because these group games are now three at a window, and these windows they're coming out fast in a short period, who could come in? And I think U.S. and I think Jimmy Lozano would be cheap for the Mexican national team to get to.
Be damn near free.
Yeah, that's the other thing, right? Because I think part of the reason Tata didn't get fired was because the buyout of it. You lose a game, you lose a whole year of games that Mexico couldn't get from the COVID and stuff. They don't have a lot of money. They don't have as much money as they usually do to spend and to replace these things and to make buyouts. So I guess my head was just thinking, like, if we needed to call in somebody, who could we do it? And maybe they just told Jimmy, kind of keep him on retainer, like, hey, like, you're not attached anymore. He said his goodbyes to the youth project now, but don't pick up anybody just in case. Don't pick up Pumas. Don't pick up Chivas.
No, don't pick it up yet, because it's not a good time for him to pick it up either. Like, it's not a good time yet. Like you said, there's an opportunity for this. Stay in the system. It's this qualifiers are right now. It's probably not the most qualified coach for that. I know, like, just because he fits in, because he knows the guys, yes. But we know there's other guys that could probably come here right away and like kind of just do it and make things happen. But yeah, man, I think there's a good conspiracy theory.
No, I would be surprised if the FMF said nobody contact Jimmy. Don't call him to pick for your team right now. Yeah. Let the season go on, because by November, when the qualifying started, that's over halfway through. So I think at that point, that'll be 8 games. There'll be 6 games left. At that point, Mexico will have a good idea where they stand. You know what I mean? They will have a very good idea about where they are, how much they need to automatically qualify, what do they need to be in the top 4, whatnot, and then they can kind of give the green light. I mean, and it's the Mexican Federation. It's not the shadiest thing they've ever done. If this is like some plan that they have.
No, and he's like kind of like he's already in the system. He doesn't want to mess that up. And we've seen other guys, we've wanted other guys to make that jump, and they never been given opportunity, like a fair opportunity. Like Chucho Ramirez, who won the first, U17 World Cup. We always like, oh, he'd be great for this. Like, and then he just died, right? Went to America and it was over. Now he didn't physically die, but his career died. And then like other players, like other coaches like Potro Gutierrez, who like had two great cycles with the U17 national team, and he went to the Olympics and did the whole thing, U20 World Cups. And you're like, okay, he's got to make the jump, and he doesn't do it. So it's like, dang, like there's these Mexican young coaches that should be given opportunity. But you've said it before. We've also said there's like a different path. Like there's national team coaches and there's club coaches. You know what I mean? And I feel like Jimmy, if he's smart, he does this. He does what you said. He kind of just stays here quietly and waits for his shot. Because let's say he picks up a Chivas team, and then in the first 5 games he loses 3, and then it's like, bro, this guy sucks. And like all of a sudden it's on him, right? So it's like, even though it's not on him. So I feel like there's like that kind of like, you got to kind of stay in this path or this path. It's kind of like college coaches and pro coaches, right? Like you're a pro player, you retire, you kind of stay around the pro teams. Don't go to the college team because it's hella hard to come over and cross over again. So we'll see what happens.
And I think especially with the last time they replaced a coach in the middle of it with Osorio, he wasn't the first choice. They had other choices that they couldn't get right away that they wanted to take over the national team, and they couldn't, and so they had to go find Osorio. And so I'm sure these things all kind of play in mind. Like if we need to make an emergency hire or a hire in like between the September and October window or the October November window, how can we find somebody quickly? So that's the other reason why it would not surprise me that the FMF would tell Jimmy Lozano, like, hey, like, don't pick up a Mexican team right now halfway through the season. Wait till at least the beginning of the 2001 season, and then you have a little bit of a project, and we'll have a better idea of where the national team's at. But just right now, in case we need you, just holding him on retainer. They know it'll be cheap, and they know they won't have to go far. He knows a lot of these players from the Olympics. Spend some time with them over the summer. I think there's trust there too. So, if Mexico gets a bad start, that's where I'm thinking of.
No, and I think it's great. I think Mexico has to also like start. They got to get those staff coaches in there. You got like Lucho Perez, who's with the U17s now, right? Another La Volpe guy, right? Lozano, La Volpe guy. So like, you got these other, like, he's got these young coaches that are getting these positions. Like, I feel like that's what Spain does really well. Like Spain, like hires a coach and then hire the next one, and they don't really drop off. Like they just keep going at what they're doing. Like, yeah, they're not as good as they were before. Like whatever, it's a generation of players. But like Spain just somehow just keeps pulling a coach out of here. There's another one here, and I think Mexico needs to build that group of coaches as well. Where they could be like, okay, here's a young guy, let's get him a chance. Okay, let's throw him in here. And I honestly like just don't think this whole Tata project has worked out the way it was like set up to be, because when you bring a coach that's not from Mexico, you're expecting a new style of play. You're expecting players being exported to Europe, right? You're expecting all this crazy stuff that we saw happen with other coaches that came from Argentina to coach Mexico before. And so like now I just like feel like I think it's time to just kind of slide back over and give chances to people from home. I just don't feel like we're getting that change from these coaches. Like, oh, let's go get a guy from Holanda. Let's go get a German coach. It's like, for what? Like, to do what? To do the same thing? Call the guys that are in Europe, call some guys that are in Mexican League and win some games here and there. Like, you don't see that style of play like really transcending into the Mexican player. I don't see it. I think that kind of like thing has to kind of end now. I think that does like the last for a little bit.
Guti, what it sounds like you want is for the Mexican national team coaches to be like a PRI from the early 1990s, from the early 1900s
You're
to
up.
the 2000s, where it was they had the next
there
one
it is.
ready
El PRI
5 years
PRI.
into the presidency for the next one to take over. That's what you wanted. That's what you want.
No, what I want is a project. It's funny. That's a good one. No, what I want is a project. What I want is a project being actually developed, not just like this nonsense stuff. I want the national team to be treated like a pro team, where like, okay, you have your coaches and you have guys that are better than coaches and they could be directors, right? And you just have things going like that. There's no reason, like, no disrespect, but Gerardo Torrado should be like in any position in the Selección Mexicana. Like, there's no experience in those kind of positions to me. Like, oh, well, he's cool, right? Like he always did what we did, what he wanted him to do. Let's put him there, and that's what I kind of feel like. The three is just like joke. It's kind of like this, like, this joke that like Televisa puts together. I don't know who's putting it together, but it's like, let's call this guy and let's call this guy. And you know what we'll do for media purposes? Let's say we're looking at, Luis Felipe, right? We're looking at, Luis, whatever, like the Brazilian coach, right? We're looking at freaking, the old coach that used to coach South Africa. It's like, what are you doing, bro? Like, what are you doing? Like, we're supposed to have a style of play. Like, how can and that's what I mean. I know the pre one was good one, but that's what I mean. I feel like the national team needs to make that change of like, this is the way we're going to play. And we'll just find coaches that can play that way, and let's groom young coaches that are coming up from Mexico and like a new group of coaches that are coming in, and not just, oh, let's go get this guy. Look, he used to coach Inter Milan. It's like, and what does that mean? He's going to come in for 4 years and then leave? Like he doesn't leave anything. He doesn't leave a group of coaches that are trained. He doesn't leave a new style of play. He doesn't export players. He's not getting us into bigger tournaments. It doesn't work that way. I don't know. I think that's kind of played out, man. That's just me. I think it's played out.
I think there is a contingent of Mexican fans who would want to see more Mexican coaches coach the Mexican national team. For that to happen, there needs to be more of an opportunity for them to really get the opportunity to coach, whether it's in the youth national level, or the club. And I think there is this generation of old Mexican coaches who are just finally starting to get phased out. I think we're starting to finally see the end of it.
Ojitos Mesa, are you there?
Yeah. So, but for that, there has to be a given opportunity.
Manuel Lapuente, are you there? Manuel Lapuente, are you there?
So, I think so. Hopefully, what you say is true. That in the future, there is more of a contingent and a plan, and these guys are put in better positions for them to succeed. And what we also need is we need more guys to kind of, before they do that, to go out and coach in other places, to coach like in Japan and learn some Japanese thing, to learn how those styles play and I'm just using Japan as an example, but there's so many other countries you can use. But like, what is similar of the Mexican player to the Japanese player, and what's different, and what can the Mexican player learn from the Japanese player? What can the Mexican player learn from the German player? What are the similarities we have enough that they can take away from them? We need to have coaches on all these different learning these different places and picking up different things, while also, holding on to what makes the Mexican player special and not forgetting that. And, if that makes sense.
No, I think, we said it. There's any more opportunities. And so that's why, like, Jimmy's like little thing is like, wait in an emergency. And if not, take the opportunity somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like somewhere else, because I really just don't see him coaching Chivas. I would like it. I just don't see it. I could maybe see him coaching Pumas, but like, just because, he played there, but I really feel like he should just try new places, be patient the same way, Gonzalo Pineda was patient and now he's coaching Atlanta United, the same way Nacho Ambriz has been patient and gone back and forth and been assistant coaches, right. And done all that stuff. And I just feel like, I think that's something that the Mexican coach needs to try and do. And I know there's gatekeepers, bro. We know there's gatekeepers. We know it's not because Mexican coaches don't want to do it. We know that there's like these promoters just blocking everything, and Piojo Herrera gets every single freaking job that's available, right? El Tuca Ferretti gets a job for 20-something years in a row. Like, we understand there's gatekeepers and there's people hating, like La Volpe's in the mix, and these different coaches have always gotten opportunities. But I'm hoping somehow these guys can break through. And I feel like teams like Pumas, Chivas, Atlas, right? These Mexican-based teams with like a lot of Mexican majority players, they're the ones that have to give that opportunity to the Mexican coach, the same way they do it with the players. They got to do it with the coach too. So
yeah,